Good morning, Utes. This is Katie at Seabrook United Methodist, and we are going to finish what we started last week. Before I begin, I want to remind you that we Methodists operate within the Wesleyan Quadrilateral, and that is, when we read Scripture, we consider our personal reasoning, our personal experiences, and our personal traditions. And those four things together, Scripture, experience, reasoning, and tradition, build our understanding of Jesus's message, which hopefully changes as we move through life. So, when I am speaking to you, you need to consider what I'm saying as ideas. They're coming from my application of the quadrilateral. And so last week, because evil is a very scary, polarizing word, and that's why I'm leading with this. Last week, I asked, what is evil? What does evil mean? Who is the evil one? And I proposed that maybe the evil one is not necessarily some celestial being or bad guy or the friend that influences us to do bad things. Perhaps the evil one, or evil, is our own inability to follow God's will. For you youth who have taken geometry, you may remember proofs in geometry. I hated proofs. I hated proofs because when I was in school, the teacher would require a certain number of points within each proof, and I liked to just cut to the chase. I didn't like to beat around the bush. But last night, I put together a proof to support my question, what is evil? Now, as you listen, I want you to remember these are my thoughts. You might disagree with them, which is awesome. I hope you share that disagreement with me, because I would like to understand more. And so here we go. Last week's proposal was perhaps I am the evil one in my life, and you are the evil one in your life. You are the only one holding you back. I am the only one holding me back. So here's the proof. First argument is free will. We all have free will. Free will was given to us. Mankind was created with free will. This free will is each individual's ability to choose the direction we go. Which is really kind of poetic. So you've got God's will, and then you have free will. Free will is our ability to decide whether or not we're going to go in line with God's will, right, wrong, or indifferent. And that free will is beautiful in that our good deeds, free will that results in positive change for the world or for ourselves or for the other people, are that much more beautiful because we have chosen them independently. We weren't made to do these good things. Likewise, our not so good choices made by free will are that much more disappointing because we have not been forced to do them. We own what we do because of free will, which is so cool. So we've got that. Second argument, if we have free will, then we must realize that we also have personal autonomy, which means we are in complete control of ourselves. I am absolutely in control of myself. Now, I could be in a situation where I am forced to eat spinach at dinner time. But ultimately, it is my choice to swallow that spinach. However it winds up in my mouth, it is my choice to swallow it. It will always come down to a personal choice within the realms of free will. So, we have free will. Therefore, we are personally autonomous, which brings us to the third argument. If we have free will, and if we are personally autonomous, then it is impossible to assign responsibility for our success or failure to anyone but ourselves. That means that God will not make an A appear in your teacher's gradebook. The A will only appear if earned honestly. That A will only appear in the gradebook if you, in your personally autonomous state of mind, exercise your free will to study and prepare for whatever that assignment is. You are in control of how that A winds up in your gradebook. Likewise, no one makes us rob a bank. The devil didn't make you do it. The evil one did not make you do it. We are personally autonomous. We have free will. We are responsible for our choice to rob a bank. We get credit for everything, and we are designed in that way. So, fourth argument. If we have a God-given ability to make decisions for ourselves, and if we therefore are responsible for our decisions, we should consider, again, not necessarily believe, because this is my thought, arguments for my thought. We should consider that evil is a metaphorical construct that helps us understand that we are the evil one for ourselves. Again, my ideas, not necessarily yours. Just consider this. If we consider our free will, our personal autonomy, our understanding that we have complete control over everything because of the first two arguments, free will and autonomy, and therefore we are the evil in our lives, we can control the evil in our lives, then we can begin seeing the parables and the ancient stories in the Bible as participants, as characters in each story and in each lesson. We are no longer just members of the audience. For example, I mentioned last week that in my study Bible, Satan, whom we will typically, Satan is usually, generally speaking, the personification of evil. Evil, as it turns out, is a synonym for adversary, according to my study Bible. Or, I'm sorry, Satan is synonymous with adversary. That is what the Hebrew word meant, adversary. So, if an adversary is in the Bible, chances are fairly good that the action of the adversary is to go against God's will. As Christians, we operate under the greatest commandment, which covers all of the original 10, and that is to love our God and to love one another. Therefore, the adversary, the embodiment of evil, is constantly working against loving each other. So, drive that point home. In your goodie bags this past Sunday, you received a little flyer that referenced the scripture Romans 12:2. And I'll read it to you just in case you haven't read it yet or you forgot it. And that is, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. In that verse, it says approve. We get to approve what God's will is. Remember, we have free will. We can choose whether God's will is worth minding. Okay? So we are in control here. I asked you guys, I challenged you guys to send me an email and let me know what that verse meant to you. It absolutely applies today. It applies yesterday. It applies in the future. Do not conform to the patterns of this world. If your friends jump off a bridge, are you going to do it too? Have you ever heard of that one? That one might be from my time, but that was one that I heard a lot. Since we've gone over my personal arguments for my question about evil, I'm going to take you through some verses that now require further consideration. The first one I want to look at is when Jesus is praying for his disciples. He prays for his disciples before he's getting arrested, before all the badness, really bad badness, begins. And his prayer is beautiful and it's long, and I'm not going to go into all of it. But what he's saying in light of don't conform to the patterns of this world, Jesus says, my prayer is not that you take my disciples out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. There's that evil one again. So he's saying to God, don't keep them from playing the game. do not prevent them from participating in this struggle that is life. Help them be strong when they are tested. It kind of supports the what is evil. I was reminded of the argument Jesus made about the plank in your eye. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. It's in two different spots in the Bible. It's in Matthew chapter 7 verse 3 and Luke chapter 6 verse 41. In Matthew, it says, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take that speck out of your eye,' when all the time you've had a plank in your own eye?" I think it's fairly obvious what that means. In Luke chapter 6:41, it's a little different, but the same. "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Brother, let me take that speck out of your eye,' when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the plank out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your own brother's eye." Now, keep that in mind. We're not conforming to the patterns of the world. We're not going to give in to the noise around us. Jesus has prayed for us, like 2,000 years ago. He prayed that we would be able to participate in the patterns of the world, but not conform to them. Because like it or not, those patterns make us wiser and stronger. And we can gain that strength and knowledge by observing them and acknowledging them, but by not participating. So, that takes us to the planks. How do we know a bad pattern when we see it? Oh, that's a very good question. See, even the cars honking no. That takes me to all the parables and the miracles and the stories of the blind people who gain sight. Even if you have never picked up the Bible, I'm willing to bet you have heard, in passing, lines from movies and books, Jesus made blind men see. Regardless of your interpretation of that particular story or miracle, whether it's metaphorical or literal, I'm asking you to consider it from a metaphorical standpoint for the purpose of this conversation. If everyone's walking around with planks in their eye, we can't see. We can't see anything. We can't see where we're going wrong. We can't see accurately where everyone else is going wrong. So let's exercise our free will and control our own eyesight. And that is what Jesus came to do. He said, guys, I have the best set of tweezers. I can take all the splinters out of your eyeballs. And he made blind men see. This lesson is absolutely relevant to today. And making blind men see is one of my favorite, it is one of my favorite miracles, because at some point in our lives, we have all been blind. We have all been blind. And I can comment all day long on the blindness of other people, but I've got some pretty big planks in my eye too. And it is our job to not conform to the collective blindness of the world, which is a pattern. It is everyone's job to wear safety glasses as much as possible. And when safety glasses are not available, we revert back to the big question. Am I doing a loving thing? So, what is evil? We could list all the synonyms in the world, but one synonym that you will never find with evil is love. So I think it's fairly safe to say evil is anything that is not, evil could be anything that is not love. I hope that's clear. I hope that makes sense. Man. Jesus is pretty freaking amazing. That's all I've got. I hope you guys, today is the last day to submit your feelings about Romans 12:2. Again, I'll read it one more time just in case. Do not conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, his pleasing, and his perfect will, which is what? To love. Send me your thoughts. I'll see you next week.